More and more people are moving to Wasilla, Alaska, and while it's a great place to live and has a lot to offer, there's definitely some reasons that people would choose not to move to Wasilla, and some reasons that would make me not be too surprised if someone decided not to move to Wasilla. So today we're going to be talking about what those reasons are. Before we jump too much further, my name's Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska. My mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And we're going to be talking about the downside of living in Wasilla. So let's jump into it. One of the big reasons right off the bat that you shouldn't move to Wasilla is the traffic, okay? Now, I know by lower 48 standards, it's laughable to hear us Alaskans complaining about traffic in Wasilla, but hear me out. We get stuck for about 10, 15 minutes in what we consider like really bumper-to-bumper traffic, just trying to get through kind of the downtown Wasilla area because the Parks Highway goes right through town, and that stretch of road is just not designed to have that amount of traffic going through there. So yes, I know, I can hear you all laughing at us from across the country at our pain, but this is about 10 to 20 minutes that we're not used to being on the road, okay? So yes, the traffic is one of the reasons that I can understand if someone said they weren't moving to Wasilla, why they wouldn't be moving there. I can understand that reason. Now, another reason some people might decide not to move to Wasilla is because it can actually get pretty cold in parts of Wasilla compared to other areas. And the reason for that, it really is more very specifically oriented. We're looking at the specific area that we're looking at. If it's really close to a river, really close to a lake or something like that, it can get pretty chilly. And you also have like the shadow of the mountains and everything right over the top of you. So yes, things can definitely get pretty chilly out in Wasilla, and if that's really a concern, you might look at something a little further south. Okay, now this one, I've kind of talked to my fiance about it. She thinks I'm being too judgmental, but the trees in Wasilla are just kind of meh. Like they're just tall and skinny and just not. They're not good at being trees. Okay, I like the big cottonwoods where you get some sense of like strength from that tree, and these ones are just kind of just tall and wispy, and like they're adapted to the weather and all that because we do get some winds that come through and they have to be able to go back and forth and bend and all that. So I get it, but still, meh. That does bring me to the next point, and that is, yes, it definitely does get pretty dadgum windy in Wasilla. So one of the big contributing factors for why that is there's actually a glacier at the end of the valley that the Knik River runs down. If you look at the specific layout of the area, you can see Palmer is definitely going to be leading the way there and kind of taking the brunt of the wind that's going to be coming into and out of that little valley that's coming in and out from the glacier, because obviously you get a big block of cold ice sitting there that's going to impact the immediate weather patterns, just because you have all the high pressure, low pressure coming into and out of that area, just depending on the time of day. And that is something borne primarily by Palmer, but Wasilla gets its own fair share of winds that go whipping through there as well. And it's, again, going to really come down to the specific place that you're in. You can be in some places in Wasilla and like hardly ever get any wind just because you're like situated with a hill blocking you or something like that. But it is something you should be aware of. I've complained about this a number of times, and I'm sure I'm going to complain about it a couple more times. But one of the things about Wasilla that is kind of charming, but it's also, it's a little chaotic, is just their zoning. So there was a lot of chaos around what was approved. I think it was about 20 years ago or so, like somebody was in office as mayor and kind of just approved everything regardless of whether or not it made sense to have these two asset classes side by side. And so the upshot of it now is that we have a lot of businesses and a lot of residential areas that are in areas that just don't really make sense for where they're at. And you can see this in Wasilla, and you definitely see this once you go further north into areas like Big Lake and Houston, and you see like, a tire mechanic shop like right in the middle of like a residential area or something like that. And yeah, I just call it like zoning chaos. All this stuff would kind of would just not be an issue at all if we had like some kind of centralized plan, some kind of comprehensive plan that was agreed upon by the community for the following decades and how it is that we would develop. And that is something that is being worked on right now by the borough. So we'll see how that does develop, and excited to hopefully see some more strategic planning on how best to actually benefit the entire community. All right, let's go and take a break real quick for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm going to read kind of a highlighted comment from the comment section and respond to it. And secondly, just to make sure that you're aware, I do host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I talk with people who've recently moved up here to Alaska. So with that being the case, let's go and read the comment section real quick here. This one's actually perfect. It says, Wasilla encompasses a large area. It's true that in order to get to those larger lots and refreshing residential areas, you have to pass through about 3 miles of stop-and-go traffic through the heart of the city and business zone. That's not too bad, all things considered, except for the rush hour Monday through Friday, if there is a special event going on, etc. So yeah, that kind of just highlights what I was saying before about the traffic. You know, it's something where we can usually get into and out of the town pretty easily, but once we start getting higher volume of traffic with people leaving for work and then coming home, the road system going through the thoroughfare and just a lot of the roads and everything in general around Wasilla aren't really designed for that level of traffic going through there. So it's going to have to be something that's looked at more closely as far as a planning element moving forward. So yeah, okay. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Moving forward. All right, this next one is not really specifically only Wasilla, but it is something I should probably mention, and that is, yes, mosquitoes can definitely be a problem in Wasilla. And there are a lot of little small lakes that can create kind of a marshy, boggy kind of ground, and that does make it pretty problematic if you don't like mosquitoes. So yes, mosquitoes can definitely be a problem. Not necessarily worse than most other places you're going to find in Alaska, but it's something we should probably mention. All right, this next thing is, it could actually be a good thing or a bad thing depending on where you stand on the issue, and that is the continued development of the state, or I'm sorry, of Wasilla. So for some of you, this is going to be a good thing. Like, yes, we're getting some more businesses in here. We're getting some more job opportunities. And we're going to get to that point of a critical mass where feel more and more like a full-fledged established town with all these benefits. And, you know, we start seeing like a lot of development and infrastructure and opportunities presented to our citizens and services that we can provide. And for other people, they just want to be left the heck alone. Okay, that's Wasilla, and it's not really clear cut one way or the other, like that it's always going to be one way or this way. Like there's this continued debate within the community on how we're going to approach the development. Another thing to kind of keep in mind while we're talking about Wasilla is you're more likely than not to run into a number of people who were living off grid, or what was considered off grid, about 30 years ago. And now they're like right dead smack in the middle of a town that they didn't ask for. So, you know, it can be a real treasure because you're talking to them and hearing about how the area really developed, and that's their treasure trove of information. And sometimes they just want to be left the heck alone. They came out here to get away from people, and the people followed them. So just kind of read the room and, just understand not everyone is super excited to see the town developing. All right, this next point, again, is something where it could be either a value proposition or it's something that's a nail in the coffin of your Wasilla dreams. And that is, Wasilla is really not a metro area. Okay, if you're used to something like, I'm just going to say like a Lubbock or any one of these towns in the lower 48 where it's about 100,000 people, that is just really not the vibe of Wasilla. Okay, Wasilla is a much smaller town. Last time I checked, I think it was right around like 14,000 or so people who live in Wasilla proper. And that's a pretty good town size. And in Alaska, lower 48 standards, not very much. So we do get a little bit of commercial stuff. We've got a Target, I've got AT&T, we've got Fred Meyer's, Walmart, like all kind of the big box places. We've got some small businesses. kind of mixed in here as well. So you do kind of have some services and some businesses out here, but it's definitely not a metro area. You're not going to have like the opera, or you're not going to have big concerts and stuff like that coming here. So if that's really important to you, Wasilla is probably not going to be a good match, at least for now. We'll see what happens in the future. Last but not least, not a whole lot of career opportunities in Wasilla. Now, this very well could change because we are starting to see more and more development on the commercial space, and that does mean we're going to see more and more businesses starting to move out to Wasilla, and that does start creating more opportunities for people to actually live and work in Wasilla. Now, do keep in mind what most people do who live in Palmer and Wasilla is they actually live in the valley, which, Palmer and Wasilla, that's where it is, in the valley, the Matsu Valley, and then they will actually drive into Anchorage to get the higher wages. So they live in the valley where the cost of living is lower, cost of housing is going to be lower, and they get more space, and they also get newer property for at a cheaper price, and they go work in Anchorage where the wages are just going to be higher. So that's what a lot of people do now. It would obviously be preferable, though, for a lot of people if they could get a pretty comparable position working in the valley so they're not having to make that 30, 40-minute one-way commute every day. So this has been my video talking about the reasons why you shouldn't move to Wasilla. If you have any other questions, or this is something you're still thinking about, I haven't scared you away, feel free to reach out, give me a call. I have my contact information in the description section down below. Let's chat and see if this is going to be a good community for you to check out.